This video is brought to you by the good people over at patriotpost.us. They are an excellent source of news and information, and a link for them will be in the description box. So when you go over there and subscribe, tell them that ABL sent you. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about this guy.
Stop the hammering!
Lawrence O'Donnell of MSNBC apologizing for reporting a false story about Donald Trump, the Russian oligarchs, and Deutsche Bank. Before we even get into what he said and the apology and whatnot, let's go ahead and roll the clip. Well, it's two clips. The first one is the story he reported on MSNBC, and the second one is him apologizing on that same network with Rachel Maddow. After we get done with that, I'll give you my 2 cents, my analysis, and then I wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
This single source close to Deutsche Bank has told me that the Donald Trump's loan documents there show that he has co-signers. That's how he was able to obtain those loans, and that the co-signers are Russian oligarchs.
What? Really?
That would explain, it seems to me, every kind word Donald Trump has ever said about Russia and Vladimir Putin, if true. And I stress the if true. Last night on this show, I discussed information that wasn't ready for reporting. I repeated statements a single source told me about the president's finances and loan documents with Deutsche Bank, saying, if true, as I discussed the information, was simply not good enough. I did not go through the rigorous verification and standards process here at MSNBC before repeating what I heard from my source. Had it gone through that process, I would not have been permitted to report it. I should not have said it on air or posted it on Twitter. I was wrong to do so. This afternoon, attorneys for the president sent us a letter asserting the story is false. They also demanded a retraction. Tonight, we are retracting the story. We don't know whether the information is inaccurate, but the fact is we do know it wasn't ready for broadcast, and for that, I apologize.
Okay, so you saw that, you see what's going on, you heard what he said. Now, there's a lot to quote unquote unpack here, as the cool kids would say, but let's start from the very beginning. This whole story about he had to get some Russian oligarchs to co-sign a loan in Russia, and you know, the story really was nothing burger than me, because what if he did get some quote unquote Russian oligarchs, whoever they may be, to co-sign a loan? How is that improper? How is that illegal? How is that some way justification for the Russia probe? Okay, if we're talking about election interference and whatnot, how does that even relate? Okay, like people get loans co-signed all the time, or they get loans from different places. How does that even figure into what's happening here? I guess if Donald Trump has any kind of relations to Russia at all, whether directly, indirectly, a long time ago, recently, I guess any relations are seen as somehow justification for, you know, Russia, orange man bad, this, that, and the third. I don't even really see it. But beyond that, the story was false. Lawrence O'Donnell had information from one source, and he reported on it from that particular point of view. Okay, I got one source, they're trusted. He didn't go through any kind of fact checking, no fact finding. That seems to be pretty much par the course for MS-13NBC, okay? Like Donald Trump said in some tweets, which were hilarious, and I'll place on the screen before you, Lawrence O'Donnell apologized before while crying because he reported a false story about Donald Trump and The Apprentice back when Trump was running, like in 2015, 2016, okay? So this ain't his first time. This ain't his first rodeo. This is pretty much what they have been known for over the past few years. And when I say they, I mean not only NBC, MS-13NBC, but also much of the mainstream media, CNN, ABC, CBS, etc. They're all pretty much doing the exact same thing, reporting on stories in a misleading way, outright lying, making up stuff. That's pretty much what they have been doing. It's pretty clear why. They're in bed with the Democratic Party, sometimes literally, sometimes just figuratively, you know, whether it be money, whether it be relationships or whatever the case, they're at the hip, connected, especially in Washington, D.C., where all the swamp pretty much resides. What Lawrence O'Donnell did was no different than what many others have done and what they continue to do. The mainstream media keeps putting out fake stuff, and when they really get caught, like in this case, I think Lawrence O'Donnell was threatened by Trump's attorney. Say, hey, cease and desist, sir, or we're going to have to sue you. You don't have any money. You work at MSNBC. You're not really a high-level anchor, so we're going to sue you, and you're going to be out there butt naked, basically. You understand? So after that, he apologized. But there are plenty other stories that are allowed to just rock and nobody really does any kind of apologizing for. Like this whole thing about Charlottesville. There are good people on both sides. What Trump said was correct. And the mainstream media are not reporting on the entire story. Right during that situation, during that press conference or whatever he was, when he said good people on both sides, he said, I'm not speaking about the white supremacists, the neo-Nazi, the KKK, etc. I'm not speaking about hate groups. I'm speaking about those that were there for the statue of Robert E. Lee, just regular everyday people that were not involved in any kind of subversive groups. But see, they don't want to have that part of the talk be shown on air at all. They want to focus on the first part. So they're reporting a story that is halfway true. They're not giving you the full details of the situation. It's to the point now where they will report on a tweet and not even show you the full tweet. I've seen it. Like, rather than just putting the screenshot up, they'll recreate the tweet in kind of a slideshow way, or like it's animated. So they'll have like a background and then the words will be coming up animated. But they won't even finish showing all the words before they just cut out and go to something else. You know, that's what they do. And at this point, it's become pretty obvious. It's painful to see it. They've gotten so desperate, they'll just straight up lie, mislead, misdirect. And the issue with this is that the people in the United States, the average person, are having a hard time understanding what's true and what's false. In years past, you were able to rely upon the mainstream media for true information. But that's not really the case anymore. People are going more and more towards individuals like myself, guys in their room or whatever the case, reporting on information, because the mainstream media cannot be trusted. It's been proven over and over again. Sometimes they apologize, but most of the time they don't. Most of the time they put out fake information. I caught myself watching NBC recently. I think it was the nightly news. I've been watching that for a while, probably about 6 months prior to the time I watched it again recently. And I was surprised how much it had changed in this period of time. I understand that the left are pretty much in the bag for anybody on the left and totally anti-Trump, anti-conservative. I get it. But the things they were saying on there were just shocking at this point. And it's kind of hard to shock me. I've seen a lot of things in my life, and I've seen how the mainstream media operate. I've seen how the left operate behind closed doors. But I was really shocked to see what they were allowing on 6:30 p.m. television, the lies, the debauchery, all kind of stuff. But like I said, this is pretty much where we are right now in our society. It's a shame to see, but it is what it is. You know, shout out to Lawrence O'Donnell. This guy, hey, I've said it before. He's a few trees short of a forest, a few French fries short of a Happy Meal. The elevator's not going all the way to the top. The lights are on, but ain't nobody in the house. I've said that about him before, but this here is kind of a new level. You're reporting on information that you don't have any kind of vetting, and you're working at MSNBC for a very long time. You have to know what the actual rules are. You know, maybe he thinks, which is what many of us think, that there are no more rules on mainstream television. You can just put out whatever you want to put out, any kind of fake story, halfway true story, whatever you find. You can get a tip from a random guy on the street that's on drugs in San Francisco will say, hey, you know what? I heard that Trump had some illegal aliens that were literally aliens. They came from Mars. And he was at Trump Doral in Miami working in the garden, picking strawberries and French fries and flowers off the ground. You'd be like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and report that on MS-13NBC right now today. That's what I'm going to do. That's pretty much where we have come with our news reporting process. I'm being kind of funny a little bit, but I'm being dead serious too. It's a shame that we cannot trust our mainstream media sources anymore. Television, newspaper, whatever the case may be, they cannot be trusted. Don't take the apology for anything else other than Lawrence O'Donnell trying to cover his own hind parts. He doesn't want to get sued. He doesn't want to get in a court situation, and he does not want to have any more of his character be destroyed than has already been, from the crazy freak out on camera that I showed you earlier, from the prior apology, and now this situation, which was totally false. No real sources, just one guy trying to attack another guy, and at the end of the day, destroying his own reputation and that of his own network, which he's been with for a very long time. So that's pretty much all I got. What say you? Do you think that Lawrence O'Donnell was sincere in his apology? If that's your viewpoint, let me know why in the comments below. Or do you think he was not being sincere? It was a matter of covering his own tracks to not get sued to oblivion, to be totally broke on the street, begging for change? How do you feel about the mainstream media in general? Have they been improving as of late, or have they been declining when it comes to their accuracy, when it comes to the fairness, when it comes to their impartiality? Have they improved? Have they not improved? Whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.